get spam calls. 95% of subscribers get spam calls despite using DND. That's the Do Not Disturb service, which you can go and register on. So what are most of these spam calls about? New bank accounts, loans, insurance, and realty. Indians typically pick up the calls and block the callers. But you know what happens, and this is my experience, you'll get another call from another number. Indians also tend to pick up the call and ask callers not to call again. But it is to no avail. One more point, if I may add, and this is not on the survey, but some of you may have observed it, a lot of the calls are now automated calls. So there really isn't anyone to even request to not call you again on the other side. It's just a machine. Sachin Taparia, founder of Local Circles, is joining us on the show to talk about the survey. Sachin, great to have you on the show. Now, tell me, what sort of was the trigger for you to conduct this survey? Was it a lot of the calls that you were suffering?
So, Tamanna, we've been getting a lot of these complaints from people across the country over the last 6 to 9 months. The numbers have increased suddenly. And that was the primary trigger. Lots of complaints, people writing about it from different parts of the country. So when we did this survey, we got about 37,000 responses from 377 districts of the country. So not just a Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai thing, but going down to the tier 3s and the tier 4s. And what we learned here is that 95% of India, as you mentioned earlier, is actually getting these spam calls. Many individuals are getting over 10 spam calls a day. I think about 9%, 18% are getting 5 to 10 spam calls, right? So 64% are getting over 3 spam calls, and the remaining 32% or so are getting 1 or 2 spam calls a day. They are the lucky ones. So big menace. DND doesn't work. People go and register on DND on their respective, with their respective service provider. It does not work. Calls are about financial services of various kinds. They are about, buying, selling realty. They are also increasingly coming about, livelihood and earnings and finding a job. Pathology services, spa services, all over the place. RO services, all over the place.
No, it's big. What is important here? A couple of things. One, that the number of calls have increased recently. And honestly, I thought this was happening just to me till I saw your survey. But you're saying now that this is a wider experience. So we need to understand why that's happening. And the second thing is that this DND service is just now not working at all. Why do you think this is the case?
So just some analysis based on what has been going on. So last year, Tamanna, we did a survey in June of 2021 on spam SMS because we were, getting complaints from citizens. And what's happened is in July, TRAI came out and did a proposal basically, where they basically said that we are going to impose these different penalties for spam SMS. And they gave a bit of a push to reporting spam SMS via their, they have an app now through which you can report spam SMS. Very cumbersome, not straightforward. You have to have a prescribed format. You have to remember to send it to that particular number. Not something that a common man can do, but basically, they were imposing penalties and were trying to push for a mechanism. And I think with all the other social media platforms like WhatsApp and others, SMS is not getting as much attention anymore. And I think that's one of the other reasons why now people are calling directly rather than, relying on SMS, the telemarketers. The other thing that we have realized is that there seems to be a little bit of a model shift. Earlier, companies that wanted to do telemarketing were registering and, were using a set of protocols to call subscribers and consumers. Now, a lot of this seems to be, getting contracted out. So, somebody who takes up a job of reaching out to, let's say, 1,000 potential loan customers is hiring these individuals who are private individuals with private numbers. And those individuals are calling from their homes, basically. It's a work from home job or in a call center to you and me. So I think there's been a bit of a shift there. And I think what's also happening is a lot of these guys are buying those data lists, which costs about, there was a recent study that they cost about 5 to 10,000 rupees and you can get 20 million records. Yeah. And they're basically referring to these lists.
This brings me to the other important part, Sachin. And, I'm all for people finding employment. So my heart does go out to those who have to make these calls and perhaps listen to angry voices on the other side. But the concern is data privacy. It seems like if you by mistake venture into any one website, post a query online, even speak to someone about something that's interesting, you will get a call on it and you will get incessant calls on it. So isn't the real issue here, the real worrying issue, how easily available all of our data is?
So, very much so, and it's already out there and probably out there with, tens of thousands of such individuals. And I think, till we get a solid data privacy law and, mechanism for it, that aspect is not going to change. But at the same time, I think there is work to be done on, on TRI front, on the front of all the different telcos. If somebody is calling, 30 numbers in a matter of, let's say, 6 hours, and those numbers basically are getting, somebody's hanging up within 30 seconds, that's a pattern that telcos can actually recognize and start taking action, and nowadays it's so hard, Tamanna, to get a number, without an Aadhaar card and without a PAN card, if you are a taxpayer, one of those IDs at least, right? That if there is action on a particular individual, you can always go from the number to the Aadhaar card, take an action, whether it is suspension of that number or whatever, or a penalty of some sort when you go to get your next number, right? If you can actually mark it on the Aadhaar card, you can impose a penalty the next time that individual goes to get a number, right? So I think we need to start thinking about these mechanisms as to how TRI will, create a framework, hold telcos responsible, make them proactively report the actions that they have taken, the accounts that they have blacklisted, and for any corporate type of, or business registrations, you have businesses that you can hold accountable. You have their PAN number, you have their company identification number, all kinds of documents, that are required to get a phone number. So it's not hard. I think we need, more will at this point to start taking action on this.
All right. Thank you so much, Sachin Taparia there. Talking about a survey he's conducted, which a lot of you may have actually experienced. We hope that the Telecom Ministry is watching this, TRAI is watching this, because it's really unfair. The DND service is just for show right now. If you've experienced this, please write into us. Tell us what you think about these spam calls and what you think should be done to stop this menace.